Hi, Martin. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we kind of lurch into the conversation, would you be okay to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Martyn. I'm the head of buying at Berry Brothers and Rudd.
Perfect. Thank you. It's great to be sat down with you today. So, can you tell me a little bit about how you got into wine and what led you to the journey of joining Berry Brothers and Rudd?
So I left university and sort of fell into working for a wine retailer. I hadn't previously been a wine guy. My parents weren't interested particularly in wine, but I really just fell in love with the educational side. Fell in love with learning about great varieties, regions. Was lucky enough to do a bit of traveling, and off the back of that, it sort of ignited the passion. And like most people in the wine trade, we love collecting. We love buying interesting things. We love getting close to the people who make the wines. And working in the wine trade, you very quickly fall into the cycle of releases um, whereby different wines and regions are released at different times of the year. So we start in January with Burgundy, then we move into the Rhone Valley, then we have Bordeaux in the summer, Italy towards the end of the year, and lots of other producers around that. So there's always another region, another release, another vintage to understand and collect and get excited about.
Amazing. And are you finding at the moment that there's lots of wines that are emerging, coming through that maybe aren't from the traditional regions that you were looking at previously?
There are always new emerging regions, but I think it's important to remember that even from the classic regions, you've always got interesting things happening. I think over the past sort of certainly 10, 15 years, we've entered this era whereby the next generation have come on board and started making the wine. So the parents who were making wine in maybe quite a traditional way, they sent their children across maybe to the new world to understand new techniques, new vinification methods. They've come back into the family domains, taking those new techniques on board and making wines in a different way, in a more modern way, which develops a style.
Amazing. And can you talk us through how you go about creating a new kind of collection here at Berry Brothers and Rudd? And what sort of experience are you looking to get across to your customers?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're guided by the base of what customers are looking to achieve, what they like. I think even within a specific region, you've still got quite distinct styles. So perhaps people like a more traditional style or a more modern style. Modern styles might have more upfront fruit. Traditional styles might be more sort of secondary characters. Obviously, you've got the difference between wines that are maybe a bit more youthful, a bit older, and really sort of a lot of customers really enjoy the journey in terms of understanding the producers and getting closer to the producers. So perhaps meeting them, perhaps coming to dinners and events and tastings here as well.
Yeah, I think it's great the way that you have so many events that you're doing both here on site but also around,
Yeah.
that helps to kind of get people to really be immersed into the
We've
experience.
got 1,100 events that we have in Berry Brothers a year. And obviously within the buying team, the buyers are spending a huge amount of their time on the ground in the wine regions, um, just ensuring that we continue to have these really good relationships with our current producers, but also looking for the next ones, looking for the gems that are going to be the next wines that people are excited about for the next 10 years,
Yeah.
15 years.
Brilliant. And what makes wine a truly memorable experience for you?
Lots of things really. I mean, ultimately, there's a high degree of who you're drinking with and the occasion. But I think for me also, I enjoy the stories behind the wines to a large extent, where you can understand the producer or the winemaking style. That really sort of elevates it for me. It's
Yeah.
amazing how when you meet a winemaker, the wine can almost mirror the style of the person making it.
Yeah.
Be that they're incredibly organized, tidy person, the winemaker, like an spotlessly clean winery, and that follows through into them making a very sort of pure, fresh style of wine, or someone else who might be a little bit more out there, and they're doing different things and making things that are a little bit different.
Yeah. And do you find that with kind of climate change and all the things that have been going on globally, that that the wines are very different in the new regions that you're finding? Are you finding the approaches are very different, or
Yeah.
is it quite a kind of traditional?
No, climate change is a big thing for every wine region. So I think that we're seeing a change in the style of some wines,
Yeah.
or certainly maybe not across for every vintage, but there will be fewer vintages where you have what we might call a more traditional style where you have more acidity and dial back fruit, and you'll have more vintages where you have bigger, riper flavors and probably higher alcohol as well.
Okay.
So all winemakers all over the world are having to adapt
Yeah.
their winemaking style and how they treat the vines in the vineyard and how they vinify.
Yeah. And how much technology is like obviously throughout the wider world, technology and technical advancements are really kind of enhancing businesses. Are you seeing that playing out in winemaking as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are some incredible things happening in terms of how vines are looked after. You know, you have drones flying around vineyards now, checking the quality of the fruit on a on a daily basis. You know, gone are the days where if you go back certainly sort of 10 years, a vineyard would be all picked at the same moment. So
Yeah.
with the winemaker would be deciding, right, we have optimal acidity and ripeness, and they'd pick the winery they'd pick the fruit. Now a vineyard might be being divided into 10, 15 different plots.
Yeah.
And it might be that the back of the vineyard, which is slightly more north facing, might not be quite perfect. So they might be picking that part of the vineyard perhaps a day or two later. So there's an incredible amount of ability to pick the absolute optimum moment to pick fruit. And then when you're in the winery, you can control temperatures and the fermentations far better than you ever could in the past.
Yeah, which is really exciting for the end product and how we can help to kind of tailor that and improve things. Um, can you tell us a little bit about your favorite wine or a favorite producer that you have at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I've got loads of favourites, but Vina Tondonia is a wine produced by Lopez de Heredia,
Okay.
which is an incredible producer based in Rioja in the town of Haro. Um, Rioja can be put into two quite distinct groups. It's traditional or modern. Traditional means, or often means, that the wines will basically be aged in American oak for a prolonged period, whereby the more modern wines are French oak for a shorter period. These guys are the most traditional, I guess, you can find. So, um, talking about the wines and the styles I love. I love modern Rioja, but I also love the additional complexity that you get from traditional Rioja. These guys have been around for 150 years or almost 150 years. Um, and this wine has been aged for 6 or 7 years in American oak and then another 3 or 4 years in bottle before it's even been released to the consumer. Um, what I love about it, it's Tempranillo, so it's predominantly red fruit. It's pure, very very fresh, sort of cherry flavors, strawberry flavors, like rose petal characters as well. But then beneath all that, you have the sort of vanilla-y character you get from the American oak.
Yeah.
And what's really exciting about this wine is the longer you leave it, the better it will become. I've
Okay.
been lucky enough to try these Tondonia wines back to 1964,
Okay.
and indeed, they go back further than that. So over time, this will become it will develop sort of tobacco characters. It will become leathery. It will become meaty, sort of tapenade hints, but still with that core of sweet, pure fruit,
Yeah.
with lovely tannins. The tannins really melt into this wine because it's had so long in oak and bottle before it was released.
And what sort of kind of price points are people able to access this wine at?
So the reserve in front of us here, this is about £40, I think, a bottle.
Okay.
And the Grand Reserva, which is produced in tiny, tiny volumes, is I think more like 200 a bottle.
Okay.
But again, they're wines where it's why we collect wine. We buy wines on release at hopefully an affordable price point, and by the time these wines have a significantly longer time in bottles, so when this is 15, 20, 30 years old, it will still be drinking beautifully, and it'll be a lot more money to purchase at that point.
Yeah, and that's what you're trying to do when you're creating sellers for people is help them to get in at affordable prices, but hopefully not only get the enjoyment along the journey, but
Mm.
some appreciation on their wine
Exactly.
portfolios as
It's
well.
appreciation and access as well. So the very, very
Yeah.
best vintages. Obviously, we all want to drink the very, very best vintages. So, and that's to a large extent where we guide our customers in terms of their purchases. So we try to source the best vintages possible. Um, so when those wines are fully mature and however whatever the person likes that style of wine, it'll be harder to find in the first place, and it'll be more expensive if you were to purchase it from a retailer.
Perfect. Thank you so much.